Good afternoon. My name is Anibor Kragha, and I'm the Executive Secretary of the African Refiners and Distributors Association, ARDA. One of the things I'm very proud of is the fact that of the relationship we have with the African Energy Chamber and the fact that I keep talking about the need for value addition to crude oil. So I always say 95% of Africans will never see a barrel of crude oil, but they will need gasoline, diesel, LPG and the like. So with all due respect to the upstream, we are the value-added portion of the oil and gas sector. So it's important to be here as we're talking about maximizing return. To maximize return on your crude oil, you have to refine it, you have to add value to your gas, you have to get petrochemicals, and that's why we're here. So we're here to not just talk about that, but also the supporting ecosystem for that to happen. The pipelines, the infrastructure, and the like, you must invest in that as well. And the additional point on beneficiation. If you're actually going to look at mining, the mines also run on diesel. So you have to look at the overall impact of the downstream on the African economy, the entire African value chain. Well, I mean, of course, the Dangote refinery. There's Centur, which is in Ghana, that came on stream. You saw there was a FID finally on the refinery in Uganda. But the reality is that given that 1 in 2 people born between now and 2040 is going to be African, given as NJ Ayuk said, by 2050, 1 in 4 people globally will live in Africa. We'll have 3 of the top 10 populations in the world. Nigeria at number 3, DRC at number 8, Ethiopia at number 9. Our energy demand is going to skyrocket far beyond what the Dangote refinery and the other refineries can provide. So the reality is there is need for additional refining capacity on the continent. Now, how are we going to do that? We need to ensure, like I said in my opening keynote speech, that we put in place the environment, the key regulatory frameworks to support that. We need to ensure that we define scope, cost, and schedule of where these refinery investments should be. We also need to ensure we have the right local content and human capacity development programs to support all of this so that we get the investments in. At my conference, McKinsey and Company actually said, as it is right now, given the growing demand, there's probably room for 6 more Dangotes on the continent. Now, will they all be 650,000 barrels a day? No, but we need to now identify where these should be, where are the upstream resources, where you can put the refineries, where should the infrastructure investments be to support this, and that is why I come to the Invest in Africa conference to highlight that. Well, I think it's, there's room for many players. When you look at the downstream, it's not just refining. You mentioned there's trading, but there's also pipelines, there's storage, there's rail. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be put in place to actually enhance the overall thing. I think the most important thing is to ensure that we look at this from an energy security point of view. What do I mean by that? As we're trying to maximize the production of crude oil, we need to start maximizing the refining capabilities on the continent and developing an intra-African oil and gas market where we're trading our products amongst ourselves, putting the ships to trade amongst ourselves, and then you start to have more African players. So forget about sending all your crude to Europe or other places. Why shouldn't Nigerian refined petroleum products be going to Southern Africa? Why shouldn't Namibia, for example, with this boom coming up, be having more petroleum products? And let me use the country you just talked about, Congo-Brazzaville. I was there at Congo Energy and Investment Forum. There was a massive push that we're trying to go double our production, go from 250 to 500,000 barrels a day. Really support that. But your refining capacity is 25,000 barrels a day. I know they're trying to increase it, but we need to make sure that the ambitions for that match the upstream as well. That's the kind of thing I think, that's what I think will actually boost opportunities for downstream players and upstream players across the continent.